what is it about colostrum that makes it such a superfood?
For me, we could spend a long time talking about this, but I think it breaks down to three particular areas. One, for me, is the innate intelligence that's built into colostrum. And I say that because colostrum is 200 million years old. I just have to repeat that because anybody listening will think the guy's talking rubbish. 200 million, and that's for sure. That was when the very first mammal was discovered, a little rodent-like mammal called Megadostrazon. I'm sure everybody can repeat that after me. It took me a long time to get used to saying that word. But Megadostrazon was the first mammal, and that's where colostrum started. It's the pre-milk that all mammals produce, and that's where all the goodness sits, in that pre-milk, which is produced in the first few days. So the first thing is, over 200 million years, the colostrum itself has evolved through time, through being exposed to toxins, environmental pollutants, the stresses in the human body over all these years. And so it has evolved into a very sophisticated substance. It's not just colostrum. It's more of what's in the colostrum and how it's evolved over all these years. There's no substance that can be man-made that can match that kind of intelligence that's built in. So that's number one. Number two is it has a patented formula around it, the alpha lipid lifeline coating around each molecule of the colostrum, which is unique to new image colostrum. Because this stuff goes into the digestive system, into the stomach, and the stomach has very powerful hydrochloric acid and other enzymes, which would break it down. And very often with most things that get put into the stomach, it can actually destroy them or destroy a large part of them. This coating actually makes it a unique substance that goes through into the next stage of digestion without being destroyed in the gut, in the stomach rather, and into the small intestine where it can be properly absorbed. And the goodness that's in the colostrum can then actually get into the body. And the third thing is the raw material, the place from which or New Image, I should say, rather, gets the colostrum. Those are grass-fed cattle that are reared in the most sustainable way, that have no inoculations, they have no antibiotics, no hormones pumped into them. So that raw material, the source from which they get the colostrum, is number one in the world. And so there's no other product that comes anywhere close to that. And so for me, that's what makes it unique. I mean, we can talk about all the things that are actually in there, but we'll be here for another few hours.
Absolutely.
But essentially, those three things really differentiate it from the rest of the colostrum in the world.
And I'm so glad you mentioned that second point about the alpha lipid part, because so much today, there's so many other nutritional vitamins out there, but as you said, if they're not designed correctly, synergistically with the body, they can essentially become expensive waste.
Exactly, quite right.
And so dive in with me a little bit as to, I'm a healthy guy, I don't suffer from any chronic diseases or illnesses or issues. Why should I be taking the colostrum?
Well, the first point, I think, is that health is not the absence of disease. So just because you're a happy, healthy guy right now, we don't know, unless we do fairly sophisticated investigations, how healthy you are at a metabolic level. And so, all of the chronic degenerative diseases, which are, by the way, on the increase in the world globally, they all take years to manifest. The day you get the diagnosis isn't the day the disease started. It's been in evolution for sometimes decades, 10, 20 decades, or 10, 20 years, I should say, rather, before you actually get the diagnosis. So the more you can do to prevent those chronic degenerative diseases, the better. And that's the one big difference between functional medicine and allopathic or orthodox medicine, is that they treat symptoms. They're not looking to prevent the symptom in the first place. Now, colostrum, because of its unique formulation, as I mentioned, over all those millions of years, it is a standalone product that will improve cellular function. So improve the way your cells are communicating with each other on the inside. And that's what we want to do. We want to improve the way our body can function on this biochemical level. And so all the communication pathways are there. So it's kind of a mindset. I don't want to wait until I get something and then figure out how I'm now going to try and treat the symptom of that. I want to prevent it from happening. And Colostrum for me is the standalone product to do exactly that, because that's what it's designed to do. It's got all the ingredients built into it naturally to fuel cellular energetics, fuel cellular defense, fuel cellular communication. So it does everything. And so it just makes absolute logical sense to empower the cells to function at their optimum.
Absolutely. And all those things contribute to longevity. And as you say, it's the quality of life. What quality of life do you want to have into your 60s, your 70s, your 80s?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, these days we're talking a lot more about health span rather than lifespan. We want to live healthily. Doesn't matter if we don't live quite as long, but you want to live as healthily as you possibly can, not have the last 20 years of your life infirm, where you're in a wheelchair and you're having to take all sorts of drugs with all sorts of side effects, and just not the ideal.
No, absolutely. And tell us the benefits for children. Obviously, the big one would be, they're susceptible to, they go to school, they're in the playgrounds, they're using somebody else's pen, drinking somebody else's juice. This has a huge boost for the immune system. So for young kids, would you recommend?
Absolutely. The whole thing about colostrum is that it gives the baby the kickstart in life. So it's got very sophisticated chemical substances like immunoglobulins, which boost the immune system, like lactoferrin, which helps with gut function, like proline-rich peptides, which help everything actually in the body, from stem cell function, and it's got growth factors. So it's all the things that both children and adults need all the time. Unfortunately, the nature of life these days is that it's traumatic in many ways. There's high stress levels. From the day you're born, pretty much you're subjected to stressors. And so the more you can do to empower the body with these wellness chemicals, if I can call them that, the better. So again, it just makes that logical sense to do as much as you can to prevent the body from falling prey to any kind of, dis-ease and even disease.
Absolutely. Let's jump across to New Image's newest product, ResMax. Antioxidant is certainly not a new thing. We all understand free radicals, that they're around us all day, every day. We breathe them in with pollution, with the environment, with the food we eat. So free radicals, we know, break down our body, right? And antioxidants are one of those things that counteract that. What makes ResMax stand above a stock standard antioxidants that we find on the shelves today?
I think there are a couple of points here that are relevant. Number one, your body has its own very sophisticated antioxidant processes that are generated in the liver. We have substances, glutathione is one of them, superoxide dismutase. These are the chemicals that your own body produces through very sophisticated biochemical processes. So number one, you don't want to suppress your body's own antioxidant processes. Now, we are bombarded by too much of this toxic overload. So much so that our own systems can't deal effectively with it. They're overwhelmed. The trouble with some of
food, the environment, stress,
you name it, all of the above. Yeah.
Right.
So you don't want to suppress your body's own systems, because regardless of what you take from the outside, it can never be better than what your own body can do. So that's number one. When you take high levels of processed antioxidants, and you bombard the body with those. We know what they are: vitamin C, vitamin E, and many of these what are called antioxidant supplements. That has the effect of overloading the body too much, so that your natural antioxidants shut down. And they say, well, I don't have to work so hard because I can read. So the body reads that it's got enough of this stuff. It presumes it's got enough of the stuff. But because it's manufactured in a laboratory, it can't use them in the same way. So we definitely want to take lower levels of antioxidant and more natural levels of antioxidants so that they don't compete with your body's own natural processes. Now, Resmax is exactly that. It's the most natural form that is not going to suppress your own glutathione production and your own free radical quenching abilities of your body. It comes from the most easily absorbable form of antioxidants. The berry is the most powerful phytochemical on the planet, actually. And New Image has sourced the best of those berries because they're all different. Every substance that we put into our body has different levels of everything. So not every berry, so a blackberry versus a currant berry, etc., a goji berry, they're not all equal in their ability to have an antioxidant effect. Now, New Image has been very clever to source the best forms of those from around the planet and put them all into one sachet, like the Resmax sachet, so that it works synergistically with your body. You don't want anything actually that you're putting into your body, and this colostrum does pretty much the same because it's such a natural thing. It's working synergistically with your body's own ability to do what it is naturally able to do. So I think that's one of the key factors for me anyway.
Right, and it makes sense. And these two products, your colostrum and the Resmax, they work so well because when your gut is makes absorption more available, then you can absorb more of these antioxidants into the body. They can go about doing the job that they're supposed to do.
Correct. Yeah.
So tell me, Doc, the need for antioxidants, how does that affect us as we age?
Well, it doesn't. The need for antioxidants doesn't change no matter how old you are. You need them because your body's getting bombarded by all these things that we've already mentioned, all the toxins. However, what does change as we get older is the body's ability to use the antioxidants that we get in our diet, even from supplements like Resmax. We know for a fact that as we get older, systems don't work as efficiently, sadly. So we know the digestive system doesn't work as effectively. It's being bombarded over decades very often by this high toxic load. So we have a low-level gastritis going on all the time. So inflammation of the gastric lining, very common. It's most gastroenterologists, when they do a gastroscopy or even a colonoscopy, they will see this redness around the gut lining. And that's coming from all the toxins that are in the digestive tract from the food we eat, the preservatives, the ultra-processed foods, etc. So now we become less able to absorb the antioxidants from your diet or from a supplement even for that matter. So the more complex the antioxidant is, so when I say complex, I mean that it's made in a laboratory and it's a chemical substance rather than a natural substance, it becomes more and more difficult. So as we get older, we sometimes need to have more of it. We need to really flood the body with these antioxidants. Right. And we need to make sure that you take something like colostrum in addition to the Resmax to make the gut work more efficiently so that you can then absorb it. So it's not that our requirement for antioxidants changes, it's just our ability to use them efficiently and effectively can potentially change.
And what are some of the benefits from taking Resmax on a daily basis?
Sure, I'll tell you. Resmax has the most powerful combination of these berries, as I've mentioned already. And the benefit to the body is reducing that free radical load. Free radicals are the things that cause rust on the inside of your body, if I can use that as a metaphor. And that rust is what we call aging. Different systems are bombarded by these toxins, and they get older. They stop working as effectively and efficiently. Now, when you take the antioxidant that's high in something like resveratrol, which is one of the most powerful antioxidants, the Resmax has the highest level of antioxidant potential, if you like, than anything else that I've seen. We've got laboratory studies, as you know, that show the powerful and superior amount of resveratrol. And that's the key substance in these berries that acts as the physical antioxidant.
And that goes a long way to longevity, right? When we talk antioxidants, we talk resveratrol, we're talking longevity. How can you look and feel better?
Yes, 100%.
Fantastic. Thanks, Doc. We're going to cross over to our last product of the day, which is Omega CoQ10. And you explained to me that these are two very different products merged into one, right? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so
hang on.
Sorry. Jared, can you cross over again?
Okay.
So don't say we're going to cross over to our last one for today, because it might just be in its own video.
Okay. Sure.
So you can start again and saying,
okay.
Now, looking at Omega CoQ10.
Okay. Gotcha.
Is that all right?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys. All right. So I'm going to count you down. 5, 4, 3.
You know, the overwhelming sense I get from this conversation is that it's all about giving the body the right ingredients for it to function optimally, right? And we now look at Omega CoQ10. You were just explaining how those are two separate products and how they work synergistically together.
Yes. Yeah, so CoQ10 and omega oils, specifically the omega-3, as you well know, there are a number of different omega oils. There's omega-3, omega-6, omega-9. But the omega-3 is the one, if I start with that, the omega oil specifically comes from fish oil, as we know. It is one of the most powerful natural anti-inflammatory substances. And we know from what we've been talking about before, the body is being bombarded by multiple toxins, and that toxicity is generating inflammation in the body, systemic inflammation. And that systemic inflammation is one of the most significant factors contributing to the aging process and to chronic degenerative disease. So anything that one can do from a natural perspective that can reduce inflammation is a key factor. And the omega oils are one of those things. I would like to guess that, and this not only a guess, but certainly comes from the scientific literature, that the majority of the population in every country is walking around more systemically inflamed than they think they are. So
Doc,
taking the omega oils...
Take us through that inflammation a little bit more. When I think of inflammation, I think of myself as I've got a sore neck and it's inflamed, or my muscle is inflamed. What do we mean by inflammation of the body?
Yes, thank you. So there are two types of inflammation. There's localized inflammation, and then there is systemic inflammation. Localized is what you were talking about. Your neck is sore, you've hit your finger with the hammer, gets swollen, inflamed. That's localized inflammation. But when the body is bombarded by stressors, and those can be high stress levels, it can be pollution, it can be ultra processed food, It can be chemical onslaught. It can be from mold. There, any number of different things will bombard the body with this toxic overload. The body then reads that and says, I need to protect myself. And it then recruits substances from the immune system. The immune system is your thing that helps to protect you, to make you immune to bacteria, viruses, etc. Now, that immune system, when it is upregulated or activated, part of the immune control is inflammatory cells. They help your body manage this toxic overload. So it's a natural process to produce, they're called cytokines, is the chemical name for these little inflammatory cells. The trouble is that they are being produced all day, every day, 24/7, because of the constant toxic overload that we're exposed to. So now we have these inflammatory cells floating around in the blood, which makes them systemic. You can measure it. You can do a blood test and measure HSCRP, for example, or ESR. These are blood tests that you do to measure the amount of inflammation in the body. The higher the amount of inflammation floating around in the blood, the worse the state of dis-ease or even disease.
And what do we feel? What are the symptoms or the noticeable things when you might be suffering from that high inflammation internally?
Well, the interesting thing, it's a silent condition. You don't know it. You have no idea until you get diagnosed with a disease, say diabetes or cardiovascular disease or hypertension, or worse, cancer or autoimmune disease. Only then do they start looking to see what your inflammatory markers are. Up until then, you could have been walking around with a high systemic inflammatory predisposition for maybe 10 years, maybe even 15 or 20 years. And then suddenly it manifests itself.
Wow.
So secret then
that's pretty scary.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why preventative wellness is the key. That's what New Image is all about. It's about recalibrating the body to prevent the onset of disease. And the longer you leave it, the harder it is to reverse anything that's going. You know, we're a funny set of organisms, the human, in that we wait until something goes wrong and then we try to fix it.
It's true.
When in fact we should have started the process as children, even, you know, but that's a whole nother discussion.
I think the problem is we glamorize soldiering on a little bit too much, you know. How are you feeling? Not quite great. Didn't sleep quite well. What are you going to do? I feel flat. I'm fatigued. We kind of have this. If we're not suffering, we're not doing it right. You know. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Exactly. I think you're right.
I think of Omega. When I think of Omega, I think of immediately heart health. So we've got inflammation.